All right. So this episode, Real CX, we're going to talk about bridging the gap between being customer-centric and being a technical support person, right? So this week we have Andy, our COO. You'll recognize him if you watched last week's episode. And this is Jason Waldrop. He's our Director of Technology.
Happy to be here.
That was a strong wave.
Thank you.
That was pretty good.
I've been thinking about it all day.
I feel like I didn't acknowledge the crowd after you just so...
Should we redo
I
this?
thought you were going to get up and do the full spin.
Glad to be here.
All right, so to recap, last week we talked about laying a CX foundation, right? So talking about establishing a value system that every employee has to follow to become customer first, figuring out ways to promote that value system internally, whether it's sharing wins, shared message boards, that kind of thing, and then how to hire for customer first employees, right? So everybody's got a different thing that they're skilled at and that they've gone to school for, whatever it may be. But everybody's got to unify under the mantra of being truly customer first. And so we talked about how to recognize that and hire for that.
After we came up with our value system, right, and we wanted to then integrate it with the support team, it was about finding out the talent pool that we had in place at the time, and assessing strengths and weaknesses, like you said. So basically, I came out and would shadow the technical team for a while, being that I'm not technical. I'm the dumbest guy in the room when it comes to technology. I could listen for things maybe that they don't know they're missing from a communication standpoint, and see who are the true communicators of the group and who are the really super technical people, and start breaking off skill sets based on that. That's how we approach it in the beginning, because if you don't know how your people are handling tickets, what people are saying to customers, how customers are responding, you really can't address the customer experience. Everything is theory.
Right. I feel like at the beginning, you almost want to take a skills-based routing approach to things, and that turns out that didn't really fit our model, so to speak. We needed, that's where we got into the hiring, the human, the communicators, the problem solvers.
That's right.
And, can you communicate? Can you problem solve, troubleshoot? And do you have the aptitude to learn what we need you to learn?
The exercise itself gave us the information. We knew who were the frontline communicators first, and then we started figuring out how we can utilize them, because people, our customer base, they're more like me than like him, right? So those frontline communicators, I want to be talking to them. They need to translate from Jason to me, right? So I can understand what the problem and then therefore the resolution would be to a situation. That was the beginning of our, I guess, evolution of the customer experience
and
protocol.
it's kind of unique, right? Because I feel like when you typically look at support teams and think about support teams, it's like, okay, here's your tier 1 people. If they can't get it done, then you escalate it to this group, and if they can't get it done, then it goes to the real deal people, right? The way that we do it is a little bit different, where it's like folks that are technical, but maybe less technical than like you, for example. They are the people that are communicating the work that's being done, and also obviously helping to troubleshoot and identify and define the scope of work initially. But then they're just acting as that mouthpiece, right? So you're updating them, and
right,
they're taking it from there.
The whole way through the process, you want the customer to be having conversations. You don't want to be checking the boxes, following flow charts. You want the customer to be in that comfort zone of having a conversation with whatever level of technical expertise we have speaking to them at that time. And absolutely, they bring that, as that information goes, through the ringer, so to speak, back and forth, up and down the ladder, however you want to word it. We get the solution back to the customer. Meanwhile, everybody who's talked to them has been a human, along the way. So that makes for a better customer experience, which of course is what drives the whole choo-choo, so to speak. Was
that like a big challenge at first? Like, Andy, you mentioned most people are non-technical, right? The customers that we're dealing with. Is it a challenge where you have to train people to take the solutions that they've created and then translate them into a way that makes sense to the customer, or is that something that you think people either just have or don't? You hire for it as opposed to train for it.
Well, it is a mentality with the technical mind that. And I don't know if you're exactly answering the question you're asking, but I will say that the technical mind wants to solve the problem, right? And then it becomes an ego thing, which is, it's great because they're going to rise to the occasion. They're going to see the challenge and take it head on. The problem can be the ability to communicate what's going on in between the problem and the resolution.
Yeah.
So if it takes 2 days to crack the code to solve the problem, the technical mind, many technical people do not want to communicate the in between. They want to communicate the resolution.
Can you confirm?
I absolutely. So one of the hardest things for me to learn as we shifted gears in this whole thing was providing an update when there's not really an update.
Right.
You know,
in your mind, an update, right?
right. In my mind, it's like we're throwing a whole bunch of different scenarios, trying to isolate the issue, make it repeatable. That's a big part of troubleshooting any problem. And when you in the engineer mind, you don't have an update to send back to the customer because you don't have an actual answer yet. But when through the aha moment I had years ago, you find out you need to let them know I'm still working on this. This is very important to me. Silence kills, like we say in the Vodacall.
Yeah.
Silence kills. So learning to provide an update, even though there's no new technical information, providing that update is valuable. Sometimes more valuable.
Oh, yeah.
Than the actual
resolution.
resolution at the end, because you don't know some complex problems that might, there's third parties involved. There's environmental variables that our team can't control. You don't know when that is going to find resolution in those scenarios when they happen, because there's elements out of our control.
Sure.
So
I mean, it's a terrific example. I don't mean to.
No, I was going to
you.
ask about the example. You mentioned this aha moment. So
Right.
what
So
was it?
there are two things I will address. The actual aha moment I will get to, but just to summarize what Jason said, it is truly the key to customer experience. Because for me, on the human side, I just want to feel like someone cares and they're working the problem, right? If I don't hear from you, I don't care if it's I'm calling my credit card company or I'm calling my home cable provider. If it's silence after I open some sort of trouble ticket, you're not working my problem. You don't care, right? We should never, ever leave a customer with that impression. And the aha moment was one night around 10 o'clock at night, Jason had called me. He was working a problem that we were both engaged with. I was not engaged on the technical side, if you can believe it. But he was working the problem hard, and he had been working it from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night. And he called me saying, hey, I have troubleshot this, and this. And I've isolated. It can't be these things. I'm getting really close. I think we're going to solve it. And we'll solve it fast from here on in. And I go, great. Well, tell the customer, respond to the ticket now at 10 at night. Let them know this is what we've been working on. This is where we are right now. I think we're close. We'll probably get to a resolution sometime
So basically
in the
exactly
morning.
what he told you. Just tell the
Exactly what he
customer.
told me. And Jason literally was like, that makes total sense now. The whole update, even when you don't have the resolution to the problem, makes total sense.
Well, also it's the getting out of the mindset of I'm not going to document. Oh, here's all my failures is what the technical mind will think.
Sure.
Here's all the failures that I've done so far, but it's not actually that. It's here's all the things that I've eliminated. So
Right.
by taking them off the board, we're getting closer to a resolution. So it's no update. You just provide the not resolved. I've eliminated this, and this. So there's a definite
'cause
value.
it's
Very
not like-
funny. It's funny. The civilian mind, the non-technical mind, I view it as effort. Like, I'm so psyched to hear about effort. And you're saying, I didn't feel comfortable communicating my failures.
Right. Now, on my side, effort is a given. That's something, but it's, perception is reality. So when the
He's
perception
a sales guy right here, huh?
when
Yeah,
the
that was
perception from your side
Damn.
is that nothing is happening, then that's your reality.
So you guys seem to have laid this foundation, which is a way of thinking, right? And that brings me to an example I want to bring up, which Wally, Andy showed me an email that you had sent last week about the latest Vodacall Go release, right? So for those who don't know, Vodacall Go is our mobile client. It allows you to make calls using your work number when you're on the go. You can download it on your phone, your computer, whatever you want, right? With that said, we were making an update to it that, typically would require some doing on the customer's part. And I feel like most providers would just say, okay, we'll send out instructions. We'll say, here's what we did. Good luck. Call us if you have any questions. Your email to Andy was like, that's one way we could do it, but the way that I think we would do it here at Vodacall is this. So I'm curious to hear you speak to it a little bit and how you got to that.
Right. So the objective there, that was actually a very large, very
very smart solution. I mean, it's brilliant. and it's hard to summarize here.
Perfect. Done.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was a very complex situation that we wanted to not be complex to the customer. From the customer side, we wanted their experience to be, ho-hum, hit the update button, done. No thinking, no effort, just normal routine day to day. On our side, that wasn't the case. We had, because of the it was actually a whole different set of binaries, a whole new program that had to be used because of the impending iOS 13 update. So we had to deploy it in such a manner to where we could provide this full update everything that needed to be updated on the phone system side, update all the customer profiles, and then package it all up to where they could seamlessly move from one app to the other, which is essentially what was happening by just hitting the update button. And then monitor it. Monitoring is big. We wanted to watch. We scripted out watching as each new device came online. We could actually see it happen. Which customer it was, which account. We can report on who is actually updated to date and who has not. So, and that was the beauty, is we didn't want to tell everybody, hey, you have to update to this client on this date.
Which doesn't seem like a big deal necessarily on paper, but
anytime you tell somebody what they have to do with their personal device, I consider it a big deal. If you tell me I have to update something or I have to uninstall this and install that, me, I'm technical, so I'm fine with it. But to the non-technical, you might get a bunch of why and how come you can't just make it work this way? So.
I'd really like to
we made it work that way.
I'd really like to continue to harp throughout this on how non-technical Andy is.
I wanted to talk about, there was times I wanted to peel pieces of him off.
Who are we talking about? Is someone else in the room?
So that was very much, let's make this a ho-hum easy update. That, no matter what we're doing over here behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz, pay no attention to the guy behind the curtain. On that side, I wanted to make it look very easy. I feel like we were successful in that. So
it doesn't matter how anyone else would do it. That was the key takeaway. Other companies would make you delete your current app, download your new app from the Apple, store.
Or Android store, we don't discriminate.
Or Android, right? Fair. But for me, that just is a rigmarole for a customer. They're not in business to update our technology for themselves, right? That should be our job. It should be seamless to them. They shouldn't know it even happened.
It's something that goes unnoticed, but if it becomes noticed, then that means that the customer has a problem, right? Like if I think about if somebody had never used the app before and they were like, oh, you know what? On this day, I'll give it a shot. Right. And then they went to do it and they were like, oh, actually, you have to go uninstall this one. And then it's like, you know what? I'm not touching this thing. I don't need it. This causes problems.
It's buggy, it's this, it's that, and all of a sudden your reviews are terrible, the perception of the app is terrible. Above and beyond all of that, though, specific to the app, his solution had much farther reaching customer experience ramifications in that our customers expect a certain level of experience from our support team. If we did it any other way, where a customer tries to make a phone call from their Vodacall Go mobile app, and they can't. They're now opening a ticket. Our support team is now basically reiterating probably something that went out in an email that they didn't see.
Inevitably got missed. Yeah,
email is just busy. Noise, right? Yeah. And it gets caught in amongst the noise. And now our customer experience support team is handling tickets that
they shouldn't
be handling. Yeah. And guess who suffers? The people who actually need to engage them.
So it's just like a domino effect.
It's a domino effect. Yeah. So the time savings on the script he wrote for that, I mean, and the experience that it allowed us to continue to deliver, I mean, you can't even quantify the value of that. I mean, that's why that script was so huge.
Yeah. is so that kind of thinking, right? Like this is how we should do this because this is how the end user is impacted. Is that something you still kind of take a second to think about and get to now, or is that second nature at this point, just kind of given, how often you've done it? And, how familiar you
that
are?
was second nature at this point.
Yeah.
It occurred to me to write it up and send that email you referenced, because the night before, when I had made a breakthrough, Andy happened to still be at the office as well, and he asked me to send a summary of it, which is another thing that I just never would have done. That's the way it needed to be done. We're going to do it the Vodacall way, customer experience first, and nothing else to think about.
That's kind of the power of having that value system and having it written on the wall, right? Is like you do stuff according to it enough, regardless of whether you're a support person, marketing, sales, whatever else, and it becomes second nature. And once something's second nature, you can teach it and pass it on to whoever you bring on.
More so than having it written on the wall, I'd say that's the power of being bought in.
Yes.
Absolutely being bought into it.
It starts with having the values on the wall, then it continues with talking about it, but really, to have it come full circle and truly implemented, it's when the non-technical mind works with the very technical mind, and everyone sees the synergy between us and the fact that we have the same value system. How can you not get behind that?
True. No,
We're
absolutely
not battling on points of view. It's we have the same exact point of view.
Yeah, because you've met in the middle already.
Yeah.
We just fight over the map sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we met in the middle, but
Yeah. The next thing I kind of want to touch on, and I've heard you talk about it, and Jason, you were talking about it a little bit earlier on today, right, is this idea of establishing an idea of like when it's time to really show the customer that you're taking accountability, right? Beyond providing just updates, once you've identified the root cause of an issue, it's about, let's say you email with somebody, and they've opened an email trouble ticket, you go back and forth a few times. It's very easy to just kind of continue to let that go on and then ultimately just try to put a Band-Aid on the problem. But you guys have developed this process where it's like 3 emails, call them. Just get somebody on the phone and go from there. So how did you get to that?
you want me to?
I like to piggyback.
All right. You like me laying the foundation, you come in with the
I really want to jump on your back and ride around.
Dan's raising his hand back there, so I don't know if you got something to say.
something
Dan?
to contribute?
We're at the phone call part of the conversation now, so I think I come in here.
But in all seriousness, it was that started with, and that's if you're rolling out and you're trying to alter your experience, right? Increase the level of experience you can deliver to your base and potential customers. You really need to get a feel for what's going on the ground. So from when I was shadowing the initial team, which was years and years and years ago, I did notice that there was a lot of email being used, or a lot of, it's not actually email, it's the ticket system back and forth, so we can track the history, and very little phone. And when I would go and dig into tickets, I would see a ticket open for days with responses going back and forth and back and forth. And that's where the whole, a lot of the support tennis, we don't play support tennis, and that it spawned from that, in that get all your information as quickly as possible from the customer. Don't get bits and pieces so we can solve the problem faster. So we implemented a rule, which is more now a guideline because everyone's bought into this system.
Sure, yeah.
But it was to get people on board with, look, if you're going back and forth via the ticket system messaging system to a customer, and if it's going back and forth for hours, it's time to pick the phone up and let's get to the root of the problem. And now people are trained that way, which inevitably it's like you don't even have to say this is the rule. They're picking the phone up because they know not only is it good for the customer, it's good for them.
Yeah.
They're cutting to the chase so much faster.
And you're identifying the root of a problem, right?
Without quick closing tickets, it's not about how fast you're resolving tickets, because that can lead to sloppy behaviors. But if you're doing it with good quality and the right sort of mindset, your day is better too as a support person. So
yeah. No, I mean, speed to resolution is one of those things that, like, I don't know, you read or you look up like support best practices, and it's like, yes, you want resolutions to be fast, but you also want them to be the right resolutions, right? Anybody can slap a Band-Aid on something quickly and say, okay, yeah, that's done. But the reality is that customer's probably opening up another ticket the next week and the week after that.
So you're absolutely right that it conditions behaviors that maybe aren't conducive to a great customer experience, right?
Right.
It's people more concerned with their actual stats.
But even above and beyond that, now all of a sudden your stats look really good, but the substance behind what you're doing just actually isn't
Correct.
there, right? So
Maybe, yeah, totally.
yeah,
And we have a team. We really do have a team of absolute problem solvers.
Yep.
And that's one of the most important things I think that has happened over the years through this evolution is they want to get on that phone. They want to get that issue resolved. They want to make that customer whole. They want that customer to be an advocate for Vodacall.
Yeah.
So, having problem solvers can fill in a lot of gaps.
And
Yeah.
to piggyback off of that,
oh,
it is
Wow.
it's about, yes, being a problem solver, but where you really see it is in the questions they're asking the customers, right? They're not asking the surface question about the problem. They're asking the in between the lines question, right? So tell me what you're trying to do. So they may say, here's a problem, but they may be describing it inaccurately. So they want to get to the real root of the problem. What are they trying to do? Is there a better way to do it? And let's come up with a solution that works for you, whether it's I'm going to fix what you're describing, or maybe I have something better. I can make a suggestion on a different way to use a piece of our technology to make your business run better.
Jason, I don't know if
Or
you.
root cause, like you mentioned Band-Aid before. So
Yeah.
if you're taking the recurring, if a customer has a recurring issue that each time you have the support rep sits there and checks the box, fixes that issue at that moment, but they don't look and say, hey, tell me what it is you're doing that gets us here each time. A
Yes.
little root cause analysis.
Seems
Let's
to be
talk about
happening,
What
yeah.
are you looking to accomplish? Maybe there's a better way to do it. Maybe you're doing something wrong along the way. Maybe we have something wrong.
Yeah.
No finger pointing. It's how are we getting here? Because if you're calling support, let's face it, you're not calling support because everything's going great.
Right.
You're just
Right,
not,
or just 'cause you like
I mean,
talking
we do
to
have
us,
some
so.
great guys in there that I wouldn't be
We do.
surprised if some of those guys took a phone call. Like say Aramis takes a phone call.
Yeah,
Somebody
Aramis.
wanted-
He
wanted to
does,
have-
yeah.
needed to pump them up for the day.
No,
that
that's
can
true.
happen.
That's
People
true.
like Aramis, right?
People love it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
shout out to Aramis. He's
Aramis is
the
great.
friendliest
Absolutely.
support guy / person I think I've met.
Awesome. He makes me happy. I need that guy in the office. I need to walk in and I need to get the big hello
Yeah.
from him.
Lacks,
It's awesome.
lacks something on the ping pong table, but that's a different conversation for another day.
Wow.
That's a public shot.
Okay.
Yeah, see what I did there? No.
Grudge match coming up.
Well, hold on, but last I checked, you lose to him.
So the next thing I want to talk about is, Jason, I'm curious to hear, do you find that the majority of the time the problem is actually different than the one that the customer comes to the table with, or what does that split look like between stuff that's on the surface versus stuff that needs to be kind of diagnosed a little bit further?
We really need to get Eric in here.
I do.
Our
I do, and I will.
support manager, customer liaison extraordinaire.
He's awesome.
And he could definitely speak to that toward today's metrics. I could say that historically, we could. It's hard to say the majority of. How did you word it? The majority of
Tickets
problem
being
reported.
surface level, or
What I can tell you is what I've often said to my guys is no matter what the customer says to you that the problem is, I want you to ask more qualifying questions so you can understand what the actual problem is. I mean, over the years, and Dan can attest to this, we've had customers say all my phones are down, and had it turn out to be one customer was locked out of their voicemail. I mean, that really happened
right,
one time.
right, and it's no fault
guess
of the
what?
customer.
The person reporting the issue was to them. That was the phone is down.
Right.
So that was their reality. Well, what that meant to them and what that means to us were two totally different things. So that's why you have to, and that's an extreme case, I know, but
No, sure, but it's a good example.
That's the thing you have to talk to the customer, because it's our job to actually understand the technical portion of the problem, not the customers. So you have to ask the qualifying question so you can figure out what that is, because we definitely want to be working on the actual problem, not the perceived problem. Yes.
Yeah, and it translates across a lot of different things, right? But I think between understanding the actual root of the problem and not just closing out a ticket just to be done with the ticket, providing customers with consistent updates, right? So on your progress to be, it's not failures, it's things that you've eliminated that could be the cause of the problem. And then making sure that you're able to be accountable enough to say, okay, if I'm going back and forth with somebody in writing, I might as well just pick up the phone and kind of work through it with them. All those things kind of lend themselves to a sense of accountability, right?
Yep.
That seems to be kind of the larger overarching theme that I'm getting from both of you guys, is that as long as you're able to take ownership of problems, and obviously that the aptitude is a given, right, because you hire for it, but you take ownership of problems, you show people that you're taking ownership of problems, and then ultimately you're solving for what ultimately their goals are as opposed to your systems, then you're on the right track, I would think.
Yes. For us, it started with giving our customers a bit of a voice. So we developed a survey. So after we established, here's our new hire, this is what we want, this is how we want our support engineers interacting with customers because we want to deliver an elevated experience. We now needed to know, okay, are our customers picking up on that? Is it working? And we went through, do we call each customer, right, and poll them? How do we get the information we wanted? So we started researching surveys. I hate surveys.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm not a huge survey guy. I think
You a big survey guy?
Depends on how long it is.
Yeah, so I'm a big R survey guy, but
Yeah.
so most surveys could be many questions, right?
Sure.
And I definitely didn't want to do that. A survey should not be work for a customer. So we came up with our Happy Cloud, Sad Cloud survey, because basically either we're making you happy or we're not. So
Right.
let's just simplify it. Are we making you happy? They click on a Happy Cloud. If we're not making you happy, then you're sad to us, and we want to try and make you happy.
Yeah.
They'll click on the Sad Cloud. We rolled out that survey, and initially we had like a 70% response rate on every closed ticket. We would get a survey
Unheard
back,
of, yeah.
unheard of, with either a Happy Cloud the majority of times and random Sad Clouds
Sure.
that we could now follow up on. So there's 2 points. Now we're not running at a 70% rate. We're in the 30 to 40%.
Yeah, because as you scale,
As you scale, you just can't keep up those numbers. But we get about 40% of the tickets closed. We get a survey back. We're running a 98.9% Happy Cloud rating. And those Sad Clouds, we have our customer experience liaison, Eric, who you mentioned earlier. He has to follow up with each Sad Cloud to find out, okay, how could we have been better? What could we do next time that would change your experience so you would click on a Happy Cloud and you're truly happy? 50% of the time it was an error on like a mobile device or something. The other 50% are times that we can really isolate and train, improve. Oftentimes it's just the human elements that we can just tweak a bit.
Right.
And it's such valuable information. If you're not giving your customer a voice in all of this,
Yeah, what are you doing?
how are you improving your customer experience?
Yeah.
It's just a guess
Yeah.
at that point.
You've been in the Norwood Knock. You see that we
Yeah.
have that Days Since Last Sad Cloud displayed, and
Yeah.
I promise you don't want to be the one that breaks the streak.
No, that cannot be a
That's
good
the first time I'm coming in. Okay, who?
Yeah.
Who did it? No, everyone's quiet.
We do the prices right as soon as you see one come across it. Bum bum ba bum.
Yeah.
But we actually have that displays up for people that don't realize that displays up on everybody's heads up display as soon as one of those ratings comes in like that. Everybody knows immediately.
Yeah, right away. Yeah, because it's to be taken seriously.
Very
Absolutely,
seriously. The only way for this all to work, it has to be completely transparent, visible from anywhere at any time. It can't be locked in someone's computer or some random FTP server somewhere. See, I am a little technical. That was good, right?
Was that real, or did you
That's
just?
real.
Is that real?
I mean, FTP servers are a real
I
thing.
mean, that was
but
from 1998,
I don't know
but
if we would
that's
use them for this.
honest
No,
to God,
but-
I thought he might have just grabbed 3 letters and said them. So
no.
I really-
In any event, my point being, it's on display for everyone to see, right? So you can't hide. You can't hide, and it's not about catching someone. It's really about taking pride in your work. Everyone's working as a team. We're only as strong as our weakest link. Centralize that information, our customer experience, the real metrics that drive us. Centralize that up on screens, on heads-up displays, HUDs, and next thing you know,
Let
you'll
it roll.
change the culture.
Yeah. All right. So, thank you to both of you. Thank you, Wally, for jumping in. This was fun. I thought we got a lot of use out of it.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Would you come back?
Absolutely, you guys are a great time. I love the mood lighting in here.
Yeah, this is good.
We should do this for conferences as well. Anytime you call me for a meeting, I would
Just
like
gets
to
you in
see
the
lighting,
zone. It just
bring
gets you in
through
the
a
zone.
bit.
This is how you want it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Feels like an interrogation. I don't want to do that.
All right, so there you have it, bridging the gap between the customer-focused communication side of things and the technical side of things, and finding a happy medium where you're delivering an experience that you're proud of and that your customers ultimately benefit from, while also making sure that the technical aptitude is there and that those people feel valued as well, I think is a big part of it. But
Absolutely.
all right, so thanks for watching this episode. We'll see you guys the next time.
Thanks.